Dave.
Thank you. That was really sweet. Thank you. How y'all doing? Thanks for coming out to our little thing here, and it's called What's on Your Mind? Power Talks, or little mini soapboxes for people who don't generally get a chance to speak out. Or you could think of it as What Makes You Tick Talks. Thank you for that. All right. So everyone's just going to say a little something, and I want to start off by, I don't know, showing you something that to me some years ago I saw this thing, and it was powerful. I love seeing stuff that actually shows up. So like with your little kids and stuff, right? How do you relate to people? You're a butthead. Great, right? And then you go, oh no, I'm sorry. So you created a rift in the force, for instance, and then you apologize and you put it back together. See? And now we're all good again. Well, And then as we get older, you say, I can't believe you actually did that. And then that hurts, and then you get back up in here and you put it back together. So what happens is that all of the forgiveness, all of the good intentions of, first of all, being in the moment and creating the rift, and the good intention of realizing that you may have done something to hurt somebody else, there's still something in there. And we carry it around. And as practitioners, what Pam was talking about, as we work to actually smooth this stuff out. Now, I've carried this, not the rips, but the idea around it with me for quite some time. And just recently, I've run into the possibility that there's another way to look at this. So Reverend Karyn's going to get up and talk about this new idea.
No. Kintsugi. What it is, literally it means golden joinery. And what it is the Japanese art form of repairing broken pottery with lacquer that has been either dusted with gold or mixed with gold. And it has a philosophy, and I'm going to share that with you. Perfection through imperfection. When something appears to be broken, what do? Do you throw it away and replace it with something new? Or do you try to mend it together to form something different and beautiful? Kintsugi treats breakage and repair as part of the history of an object rather than something to disguise. So what does that mean for us? Haven't we all been through an experience where we have been broken and it caused pain and sorrow? Or haven't we been through the valley of darkness and made it to the other side? Because we always make it to the other side, right? Well, the awesome part of this all, the awesome part of us going through these challenges is that there are gifts involved. We get to receive a gift. And there's always that pony in that pile. Well, that manure, sorry, for those of you who don't know. So these gifts are, one of the first gifts we receive is strength. Every time we are broken open and mended back together, we are stronger. We are more durable. We are ready to face whatever is next. And we have been transformed pretty much. And kind of like a scar, scars, they don't represent the injury. They represent the healing. They represent the transformation. And that makes us stronger. Another gift we receive is beauty and uniqueness. So, we have our stories. We've been through what we've been through. We've walked our path, and we have our cracks. We've been broken. and they've been filled up. We are, each one of us on planet Earth, 7.5 billion people, each have their own unique cracks, have their own unique stories. So the beauty of this is that we are each, every time we go through a challenge and we mend ourselves with that golden lacquer of truth, then we actually shine. We radiate. We are beautiful. Another gift we receive is value. So just as the bowl gets more value by the gold, the more gold there is, the more value. That's the same thing with us. So we have learned from our experiences. We have grown from these experiences. We have earned from these experiences, and we have become more valuable from these experiences. And I asked Kathy before the service if I could mention this. You know, there's a lot of people in our congregation or in the world who are in the 12-step program, and they sponsor people. Their experience has been filled with gold, and they get to use their experience of having them broken open to help others, to sponsor people, to guide them, right? So back to this philosophy, it treats breakage and repair as part of the history of an object rather than something to hide. So here I am. I'm not hiding it. 50 years of cracks. Physical abuse, bad marriage, deaths of people that I love, and the past few years of taking care of my sick mom. But I am here stronger. I am here more beautiful and unique, and I am more valuable. And so are each one of you. And so it is.
Thank you very much. Enlightening. Take the crack and turn it into gold, right? What was it Rumi said? The wound is where the light shines. It's a beautiful thing. Thanks for that. So next, everybody has their stuff that they do. We're all here along this path of trying to get, I don't want to say better, become more of who we are, understand more of who we are. And I'm going to invite Harry up right now, who's going to share with us where he is. And basically, this is what he told me to say, all right? I'm just going to go like this and say what it's like to be Harry.
There was a little ad lib there from Dave on that, I think. So, well, I wasn't exactly clear what a power talk was supposed to be about. So I didn't pick a topic or a subject, you know, that I was going to speak to. I figured I would speak about myself. And one of the things that kept going through my mind as I looked at the poster that was created for this talk and some of the conversation is I looked at the word practitioner. And this was kind of billed as a talk by practitioners. And as you all know, everybody here knows me pretty well. I'm not a practitioner. I tried to do a pun on the word. Is there such a word as practicer? And when I tried to look that up, it kept leading me back to practitioner. So I kind of gave up on that. It wasn't really going anywhere. But I am a practicer. And I'm relatively new to this practice of what we are working on in ourselves with the science of mind here at the center. And I appreciate all the things that I've learned. I'm in my 63rd orbit around this planet, so I'm not that young, but I am new relative to the practices of science of mind. I like to think that I'm a a good learner. I've been taking my classes. I get a lot out of the groups that I attend. I get a lot out of just conversations with the folks that I encounter on the services. I come regularly to Sunday service, come regularly to Wednesday Wisdom. And as Reverend Judy says, this is practicing the presence. So I am practicing all the time. I'm not always perfect with what I do. It's not always easy. I set myself up for regular readings. I set myself up for meditation. I pray. I thought it was a great chant for me to hear tonight. Carl helped me get into the mode that I was in tonight because I do pray. And like I say, it's not always easy. Sometimes I fall off the wagon in terms of looking at life from the perspective of everybody, seeing God in everybody, seeing God in everything. It's pretty hard when you've spent most of those 63 revolutions around the planet trying to accomplish things through what I would say we call it intention, but it ends up being manipulation, or you try to control a circumstance, you try to influence an outcome, you get invested in an outcome. And what I'm finding is I'm letting that go as much as I can, as often as I can. I take gratitude in everything that I see as much as I can. I walk down the street. I'm grateful for the trees. I'm grateful for my feet that are moving me down that street. I'm grateful for everything I see. I think that's one of the greatest aspects of what I've learned here, is to be in the moment, to be grateful, to be able to see God, to see holiness of everything and everything that you see. Probably the biggest thing that I've worked on for myself personally is judgment. I spent a career in management where you were paid basically to make decisions, to make judgments, to judge circumstances. And that always entailed judging people, judging what you anticipated to be an action that was coming up. And that's okay if you're doing it in a corporate world, but when you're doing it living with people, living with other human beings, it's not always the best thing to do. And I still, like I say, you fall off the bike, but you get back on the bike. You know, you catch yourself, you've made an error, and you say, you know what, it's okay. I'm just going to keep moving ahead. So I guess I'll wrap it up and say I'm proud to be who I am, where I am on my journey. And I thank everybody who's supported me that I've got to know here at the center. And I love you all. Thank you so much.
Practicing. Harry plays a little bit too. Not many people know he's actually a little bit of a musician, so he knows all about practicing. You know, it's nice to be retired, and all we could do is just play music. What do you think? All right? That's what there you go. I'll just keep practicing, right? So then, you know, we practice and we have these principles, we have these ideas or these ideals, and we gather together. And again, to mimic what Harry was saying, I love the fact that we have this group of people who are doing this kind of the same. It's a great support group. You know, when doing two or more in my name, there's so much power there, right? And one more thing, I think it was Meister Eckhart who said, you know, if thank you is the only prayer you ever had to say, it's all you need. Thank you guys for coming out. We're not done yet. I just want to say that. Now I'm going to bring up Mary Brogdon, who has actually finding the fact that prayer works. And she's going to share that with us.
So what's on my mind has been my adventure in wellness. It began on Saturday, April 8th, when something unusual happened, and the universe got my attention through my body. I felt somewhat lightheaded, like I might faint, and I felt like my right leg was a little weak, like it might not support me. So I sat down quickly. I took some deep breaths, and I waited for that feeling to pass. And in a few minutes, it passed. So I went about my usual day. A few hours later, something more got my attention. Suddenly, I noticed that the right side of my face felt numb. From my jaw to my scalp, it was all numb, and my mouth and my tongue felt like I had had a shot of Novocaine. And I began to pay more attention internally, monitoring what was going on in my body. My right hand and my right foot were numb and tingly as well. And I thought about saying something to someone about it, but I just thought better of that idea. I just waited it out. I kept it to myself, and I paid attention. After 5 or 10 minutes, that feeling passed. One more time that day, I was thinking that, gee, I stood up and I don't know if my foot's going to work quite right. Can I walk? Because it felt like it was not in my control. So I thought about what's going on here. And I considered going to the hospital, but I told myself, if anything else happens, if it doesn't get better, I'll go later this evening. So the rest of the evening, everything was fine, and I dismissed it and decided I'm not going to give it any more of my attention. I'm not going to attract it to me by thinking more about it. The next morning, I awoke, everything was fine. I came to church as usual. But when church was over and the practitioners spread out, I saw that Dave Friedman went into the tranquility room there, and I hopped over from the sound booth and I said, you know, yesterday something weird neurologically was happening in my body, and I want a treatment for my perfect health. Dave says, no problem. And he treated for my perfect health. And then when he was finished, I grabbed a piece of paper, the treatment request form, to fill out my request. And I noticed, gee whiz, it's not easy for me to write this out. Something's happening here. And when I was finished, I looked at the piece of paper and I said, geez, this is not my handwriting. So something else is going on. And about an hour later, that numbness came back in my mouth and my tongue. And I started making plans to get myself to the hospital or somewhere to get some medical attention. That evening, I was in the emergency room at Saddleback, and they initiated a stroke protocol, which is a standard series of tests and examinations to rule out a stroke. And my blood pressure was 215 over 110, I think, which didn't make anybody happy. But my blood pressure, although I was given some medication to bring it down, it wasn't responding. So I was admitted to the ICU and given some IV medication to bring it down. I had to be monitored in the ICU with that medication going. The next morning, a neurologist came to visit me, and he said, good news, all your tests are negative. You did not have a stroke. Yay. Treatment works. Because I had also notified a practitioner that afternoon that I was in the emergency room. So she spread the word, and everybody was treating for me. He said, because of the transient effect of the numbness and the high blood pressure, he thought that a spasm occurs in the, it was occurring in the blood vessels in my brain causing this, and it was a benign condition that's totally reversible. So I was put on some blood pressure medicine. He said, you do have to get your blood pressure under control, though, because that's what's causing this. So I was really happy that there was no stroke and everything was benign. But a month passed now, and I'm still having the tingling in my fingers and my mouth, and my taste is affected, and my blood pressure is still not in good control. It's coming down, but it's not where we'd like to see it. So it occurred to me to look somewhere else for answers, and I got out Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and I looked up every symptom that I had been feeling and every condition and every body part. I looked up first numbness, then I looked at the hand. Each individual finger has some thought associated with it. The mouth and the tongue, and I looked at right side, because these symptoms were all happening on the right side of the body. What does that mean? And I wasn't too surprised with what I read, because I studied Louise Hay in the past, and I know that a lot of these symptoms are overlapping. There's a lot to do with fear of the future, fear of change, fear of losing control. There's having to do with how you handle life experiences, holding on too tight. All of these things were coming up in what she talked about. And the affirmations that she shares that are to correct these thought problems sound like this. I share my feelings and my love. I respond to love in everyone. I choose to handle all my experiences with love, with joy, with ease. I'm free to circulate with joy and love in every part of my world. I love life. I nourish myself with love. I welcome new ideas, new concepts, and prepare them for digestion and assimilation. I balance my masculine energy easily and effortlessly. I rejoice in all of my beautiful givingness. I am secure. I am peaceful with the details of my life. I release, I relax, I let go. I'm safe. The thing about the blood pressure, though, was a little challenging for me, because Louise says that blood pressure is related to a long-standing emotional problem that's not resolved. Well, out of my 70 plus orbits around this place, which emotional problem do you think that might be? I don't know. So I didn't know where to go with that, but I shared this information with my chiropractor last week. And as she was listening to me, she said, the number 32 comes up. What was going on in your life between the ages of 31 and 33? So when I reflected on that question, I realized that was a pretty dark time in my life. And I made some choices that I wasn't really proud of. And I had some really low self-esteem. And I thought that maybe my life wasn't worth all that much. And so she asked me, had I forgiven myself? And I said, well, no, I haven't really thought about forgiving myself about those things. She said, write some letters to your 30-year-old self and give yourself a little love, a lot of love, and let that 32-year-old self know that she did the best she could at the time. And then Monday of this week, I was sharing this information with my journal coach, and she said, you can write letters, but I would like you to go to your journal and turn to the life history log, and I want you to dive deep into that period of your life. Write about everything that was going on then and let the pain come to the surface. So I began that process. And I'm going to continue it. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with that, only in class that day, but I'll be in class again on Monday. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to use Louise Hay's affirmation for blood pressure, which says, I joyously release the past. I am at peace. And I'm adding to that, I'm at peace with my choices in the past. I forgive myself for being unconscious and unaware of my divinity. I love myself. I am loved, and I am worthy of a rich, fulfilling life. Now you know what's on my mind.
Thank you for sharing. It's a beautiful thing. What a great example of practicing the presence and taking cracks and turning them into gold and actually using the principles. Way to be. Now, as far as practicing goes, we come in here on Sundays and we get, oh, this is great, right? And then we come in here on Wednesdays and get a little faith lift. But there's a lot that happens out there that kind of, we'll put it under the heading of distractions that can very easily get us off of our path if we let it. So I'm going to let Hanyo come up because he was telling me he's got this great thing that he's doing. He wants to share as far as, realize, well, I'm just going to let you talk about it. Yeah.
I was thinking maybe I didn't even have to say anything, Dave.
That would be okay too.
Okay. Hi. Oh, it's so nice to be in front of you again. Of course, I like to be up here on the stage, on the podium. And so, like as Dave was saying, I come up here on Sunday, and some of you probably hear me coming up because I got the stereo blasting, and because I love the sound of music, not particularly the movie, but the sound of music. And my kind of music, the music that I like to listen to, and it's rock and roll, and it's blues, and it's depressing Canadian songs, from Leonard Cohen or Neil Young, or I love those songs because so many of those songs are so heartfelt, and I'm a man who lives from the heart, sometimes to my dismay and disadvantage, but happily so, because in the end, after the heart goes through the break, it comes out on the other side like the golden lacquer has been used not sparingly, heavily. So yes. And so I noticed that in between the Sundays and the Wednesdays, when I try to show up here on Wednesday on a regular basis, sometimes I don't. But I noticed that like when I'm coming to the center on Sundays, I don't live that far away. I just live down off of by the CVS here in town. And I'm coming up Pico, and as I get closer and closer to the center, I feel better. I feel better in that inside, in that core of myself. I go, this is going to be great. And I come here and I look at everybody in this room, and as I look at everybody in this room, I have a story with every single person here, an adventure, a connection that I've made, and it's good. It's very good, and it's fulfilling, and it's love. And then I leave the center. My my spirit is filled. I've got a great talk. I've heard great music. I've heard great musicians and people who love me and encourage me and come to me and say, "Hey, Hans, how you doing? Good to see you." And I try to give them something all the time. I try to give each and every one of you as I meet you individually, and I hug you and I embrace you and I enfold you into my heart. And that gives me great joy. But I've got to leave here. We're not going to stay here all the time, right? We've got a life out there. And that life is filled with distractions, as Dave mentioned, and I actually told him that, and that's why I used that word. Distractions. I learned this from a reading of a guy by the name of Bubba Free-John, and he says our life has a tendency to fill us with distractions. We know inside of us, I'll speak for myself. I know inside of myself where I want to go. I know inside of myself what I want to write. I know inside of myself what I want to sing. I know inside of myself what I want to have in my life. But man, I am so subject to distractions. And I get halfway down Pico, and here they come. And many of them are self-inflicted. You know, I'll turn on the radio again and go, okay, lift it up, and there will be a blues song on. Well, what is blues? Blues is talking about, man, crap is happening in my life, and I don't know what to do, and it feels so bad, and I'm all alone, and nobody loves me, and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of embrace that, you know, because I love the feeling of it. I love that there's a genuine feeling in the music of the blues. There's a feeling I get from rock and roll, which sometimes is not really encouraging or uplifting, but it's motivating to me, and it lifts me up in a certain way. But I know that the inside of that there's a distraction that's sending me someplace where I don't really need to go. I don't need to be the mean guy. I don't need to be the guy who's oppressed, or impressed for that matter. But I notice that these things happen to me. So I took a class, I believe it was with Reverend Heather, and we talked about forgiveness a lot. And a lot of it was about forgiveness. And I came to a conclusion at the end of that class that forgiveness for me is not something that I just do. Well, yeah, it's a thing that I do, but it's not just like, okay, you messed over me, you're forgiven, and then that's it. No, forgiveness is a 24-hour-a-day trip, all of your waking life, because I'll drive down the street and I'll see a car that's exactly the same kind of car as the person who took advantage of me or the person who betrayed me. And boom, it comes right back, smacks me in the side of the head, and the next thing you know, I'm going, et cetera, et cetera. And so there I am, away from who I am, what I feel inside of myself, that my true mission, my true inner self, my true being is gone for just a moment of time until I regroup and go, oh yes, I forgave that person. I'm going to forgive them again. Okay, are they forgiven? Yes, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. I let go, I feel better. How am I doing for time? Am I forgiven? Yeah, touchy, sketchy. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap this up. So I find now I need to apply that same thing to my distractions. So how am I going to do that? Well, I was in another class with Reverend Karyn, and she made us, it was so beautiful. She made this beautiful bead, or she had us make this beaded necklace. And we would go through and we'd say, I am prosperous, I am prosperous, I am prosperous, I am prosperous. And it was a prosperity thing, and it really worked as long as I used it. And I'm back to using that more, but I've expanded it. So here is the crux of what I've been trying to say. I've developed a mantra for myself. I've been to classes, and it's like it can be in some other language, standard, or I forget what it means. I forget the mantra. So I decided what I would do is I would develop my own mantra. So here's my new mantra, okay? And I've started doing this last week actually when I was really down and I said, you know, you got to turn yourself around, Hans. And so I say, I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am happy. I am wise. I am caring, ever loving, and always compassionate and kind. And I say those words, and it lifts me up. It lets the shadow go, that shadow side of ourselves. It lets that go. And so I'm happier for that. And I'm happier for you that I'm happier for myself because I'm better for you when I'm better for myself. Bless you all. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Beautiful. Nice job. Just yet another example of actually doing the work. And look at you shining. One of the things that we do here, I believe, all right, one of the things that I do here is as we go through these practices, as we open these wounds and let the gold get into it, as we get closer to what it is that we think we're going, aren't we just kind of looking for peace? Where's the peace? It's over there. Where's the peace? It's out there. You know where the peace is? It's right here. And you don't go find peace. Peace is. You don't create peace. Peace is. And it's just something that needs to be revealed. So the last speaker this evening, our last little soapbox, Kathy Story, is going to get up and talk a little bit about her thoughts regarding peace.
Thank you. Hello, family of choice. It's a different view from up here. I love it. I was going to talk about peace, but actually I have another thing to share too. We were on our way up here and we were listening to Jamie Lulu's was it Mother, Father, God. There's a healing going on, right? And then in the background, Ricky's going, in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, you know, and it's like, and it hit me in my mind. There's a healing going on, and it's always going on in our mind. I think of a healing, I think of my body. All of a sudden, I'm going, in my mind, of course. You have to align the thought with the truth of God. I've been having issues with my knee. So I'm driving down here going, I am flexible. That perfect pattern to God is right where my knee is. God goes before me, makes the road straight, you know? And it was just like boom, boom, boom. It's gone. It's gone, you know? I forget it's the healing in the mind. So anyway, my talk actually is on peace, and it is about an experience I had. Me and Tony did held a space for a half hour for the season of nonviolence at night for people to participate in peace. So we were looking into peace meditations, and it was wonderful because you know what you think about, you bring about. And so it was amazing the transformation in my relationships with people. It all got softer, it was a wonderful experience. But I go to this meeting, we call it the Sixth Sense meeting. I'm in recovery in AA. And in this meeting, you're allowed to crosstalk, which I love because it's totally against the rules. And so, and it's a creative meeting. So you share your songs and your poems, that kind of thing. And so while we were doing one of these meditations, it came to me in a meditation, I heard the words, it's the prayer of Assisi's. We call it the 11-step prayer. But I'm sitting there and all of a sudden my meditation, it's an instruction manual. And you know, you ever fight with God? It's like, no, it's not. No, this was one of the first prayers that ever touched my heart, you know, and it's sacred. It's not an instruction manual, you know. So I go to the Wednesday meeting, the Sixth Sense meeting, and there's 50 of us and there's 4 readings. I get handed the 11-step prayer and I go, okay, it's creative. I'm going to read it as it was downloaded to me. Okay. And so I go through the prayer, and I'll tell you what it is. If you read this as an instruction manual, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love. So there is peace. It's an action step. That where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness. So there is peace. That where there is discord, I may bring harmony. So there is peace. That where there is doubt, I may bring faith. So there is peace. Where there is despair, I may bring hope. So there is peace. That where there is sadness, I may bring joy. So there is peace. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, forgiving that one is forgiven, it is by dying one that one awakens to eternal life. Now you noticed how much longer that prayer took. The first time I did this, everybody in the room, you can hear that. People are moving around, making noise and everything else. So the next week I go back. 50 people there. We have a leader that comes from outside. I get the prayer page again. So now we start saying it. Now the whole room is filled, going, and so there is peace. Okay? Third week it happens. Fourth week it happens.
What's the deal?
Fifth week I don't get it. Well, the fourth week, the secretary comes up to me and says, I really love that. Can we have you do it all the time? I'm like, no, we don't do that. So the fifth week, it doesn't happen. But guess what happens when you create a space? Okay? So the whole room, even though somebody else was reading it, so there is peace, you know? And we do a 6-minute meditation after that. It's just, it's amazing. And it happened again today, you know? So I love Emma's thing. The world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is. And I had an experience of that. I usually make my coffee before I go to a meeting. So I'm in Laguna at 6 o'clock. I have no coffee. I walk into Starbucks. There's 9 people at Starbucks. That seems crazy to me. I was just shocked. And the person behind the counter is walking like this. And of course, so I go to judgment going, oh, okay, I come to, that's not how I work. This is how she works. You know, it's no judgment. So I'm standing there and I go, okay, because I've been doing these peace meditations, why not just meditate, right? So I connect, I'm standing in line, you know, I'm blessing everybody. I'm blessing even the person that's walking slow behind the, you know, blessing everybody. And you get up to the counter and the lady in front of me, all of a sudden, the barista comes up and says, the lady would like to buy you whatever you're having today. And I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, I'm used to that now. People love giving me gifts. I just say thank you. And so, you know, she looked at me and she said, you know what? She says, you have such a peaceful look. She said, and I needed some peace today. So I thank you for that. So again, it is just, yeah, transformation.